Hey, it's Ed here. Today we're taking a look at technical analysis for Dow Jones Industrial Average. I'll cover wave analysis with Elliott Wave Theory and provide multiple scenarios the price may take and explain why I prefer one count over another. Let's take a look at the different possibilities. Starting here on 6-month time frame and checking out this whole macro picture here. So the main idea is still this one, in which we have already created a wave 1 of grand supercycle, wave 2 grand supercycle around the 2000s, and the 2001 crash was the wave 2 of grand supercycle, taking us down 90% of that price that we had on Dow Jones. Since then, I've labeled this as a wave 1, 2 of supercycle, 3, 4 and 5 of supercycle, completing already the third of grand supercycle here. And then of course this wave 4 here is quite small. He has taken around the almost 10 years, so it is somewhat relevant to the size. This again is labeled as a grand supercycle. Of course it could be a supercycle, but then I'll just downgrade everything that I had previously. Does not really matter to me which and how I'm going to be labeling these on these higher time frames. But again, keep that in mind that this structure here, I do feel like, is somewhat comparable to this in size and price. Of course, there is validity in thinking that the grand supercycle 3 is not done and not happened yet, and this could be some kind of extended 1, 2, 3, 4 and then 5th, and then only then we would be topping this grand supercycle 3 up in here and getting a last larger correction before that wave 4 is done, and then another bull run upwards to create this last leg higher. Of course, that is definitely a possibility, but this is still my main, and I'm thinking about this count the most. Let's turn into the weekly and then check out this current structure, or more local structure, I guess. Again, here is the lows that we had on March 09th, and here is the lows of March 2020. Again, since the 09 we had a bull run of wave 1 of cycle, wave 2 of cycle, another 1, 2, 3, 4 and large 5th here in the third. Again, this would be fitting as we had the highest RSI here on the 3rd of 3rd. And then coming down for the 4th. Again, this is a very large correction. It is not that comparable to the first here, so that is a bit of an issue. I tried to create this as a wave 1, 2, 3, one ABC there, but again, the extensions here are not that great, at least on log here, and we can see that this has gone beyond the 1.6 minutes, so that's the reason why I basically have the high here as a wave 1 top. Of course, this is again a possibility where we would be resetting the whole thing, but we have not taken out the lows that we had here on 08 crash with this March 2020 lows on RSI. So there is definitely a possibility still that we are still within this same RSI cycle upwards. So that has to be kept in mind. Also, with the current crash, we have not yet even taken out the lows that we had on March 2020 with the RSI, so that is something to keep in mind as well. When this cycle is done, we should be taking out these lows here and also the previous lows, and that is most likely giving us some kind of confidence and confirmation that this whole structure is done. Now, the overall idea here is either that we are creating this as a wave 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5th here, completing the wave 1 of supercycle here for the last leg upwards for that grand supercycle, or we would be creating this as a 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5th of supercycle that would be finishing up the very higher time frame 5th wave up in here. I don't really want to think about that possibility before we are starting to take out these previous structures, especially this one here, March 2020 lows, and the next part of course would be taking out this low here of that 09 lows around 6k, but that is definitely going to be taking a lot of time if that is going to be happening. But again, we are just going to be comparing our structures against this low for now. So let's dive into this a bit, this more local structures again, the highs of 2021 and onwards on the futures chart for DOW. So this is what I've had since then as a macro picture, and this is nothing new if you've followed me on any of the videos. But again, the idea is that idea we're creating is a three-way structure down here into wave Y. And for this one, again, we had the highs here. However, it is kind of hard to get a three-way structure, a five-way structure getting into here. So it is possible that we are creating a W wave like this. And I feel like this has a bit better structure for a five-way structure here than this mess over here. So it is possible that we again start the structure like so for the W. And then again, another WXY here for the wave Y. Not taking out the highs of wave W, a bit scuffed looking structure here, but again, we have to deal with what we're getting at the moment. Then another ABC structure here for that wave Y, completing this whole structure that we had here as a three-way structure at these lows. Again, we have not taken out this low yet, which is telling me that, okay, this is still a possibility where we are still within the cycle that we are coming down with. And once we are taking out the lows that we have here, especially even on well, looks like on daily we had it, but it is so few days in that price chart, so maybe should be looking into this more. So when we are taking out these lows, then we are creating that non-divergence on the price against these lows. Then I would be considering this to be done, this whole structure. Now after the wave Y would be done, the structures that we are getting is a bit weird. It is not the very same that we have on S&P 500 or the Nasdaq. So in here, this part is still the same, I do think. We have this as a three-way structure. Now, there is a possibility in which this ABC is actually part of a larger structure, which would be something like this, creating this larger correction here, being the connector part basically for this structure here to get a partner leg downwards, or this is the connector itself and this is the structure that is going to be the next structure downwards. Those are the two options here on higher time frame I'm looking at. It is possible that this is already done. We have the one-to-one extension here against this structure here. Oops. For this one, we see that we tagged the one-to-one over here at this current highs, and I think this DOW is the actually the only one that did not take out the lows that we had put in place on 3rd of October with the more recent 13th of October lows. And again, most of the other indices, S&P 500, Nasdaq, and even the Russell, I think took out these lows. Or these lows with the more current of 13th lows. So at this case again, or this scenario I have, is where we have this as a five-way structure. At least it looks the best here. We would have to have a truncation here against this low that we put in place. So that is something that I don't really like doing, but I feel like this is the only indice that has happened. And so for, if we are comparing to the rest of the indices, I feel like we'd have to be saying that it is done as a five-way structure in here with a truncation, unfortunately. On the other indices, where I've labeled this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as a possibility. Of course, we had the possibility of having this as a WXY, XZ as well. However, the last leg here is definitely more looking like a five-way structure than anything else. So that's why I did prefer the five-way structure here. That would make me think that this whole structure would be a five-way structure into A wave here. Then we would be getting a B wave and then C wave downwards. Again, at this point, we have already retraced quite a bit here, making this a bit more bullish than the rest of the indices. We have gone way beyond the golden pocket here already, even to the 786, where we are finding some resistance with these structures over here as well, with that as a resistance area. So So I'm not quite sure if these all are going to be following the exact same paths, especially if we are creating some more highs here. It's going to be very interesting to see that some of the indices are actually invalidating the idea that this would be a 5-way structure. Because again, if this is a 5-way structure and we are thinking that it is the start of something new, we can't go beyond this high here. And that is definitely an interesting thought. If we do get beyond here, then I do think that we are indeed in a structure like this in all of them, even though if it would be just one of the indices that does it, because otherwise the symmetry between the indices is going to be broken and we can't really get anything good out of it. But we'll see how this is turning out to be. I do think that next week is going to be determining quite a lot of the market, what is going on, and we'll see some kind of a pump and dump scheme for sure going on with the CPI and some other news related stuff coming out next week as well, giving us a lot of volatility, at least in the markets. But I think that is going to do it for this macro video. I'm not going to go more detail into these, as we are going to go through those on more daily videos during the week. But I'll get back to this later on. But if you made it this far into the video, I would appreciate the likes. Link to my free Discord server in the description below. And for now, I thank you for watching and hope you have an amazing rest of your day. See you in the next video. Bye bye.